Mercedes expected George Russell to lead its title charge. Instead, the data is already pointing at something nobody saw coming. After 7 rounds, 19-year-old Kimi Antonelli is leading the World Championship with 156 points. Russell is 50 points behind his own teammate. Antonelli has won 5 races. Russell has won 1. But the most shocking part is not the scoreboard. It is the reason behind it. The numbers suggest Antonelli is not just faster, he may be driving the 2026 Mercedes the way it was meant to be driven, while Russell is still fighting a car that no longer rewards his biggest strengths. And if that is true, this is not a rookie hot streak. It is the beginning of a power shift inside Mercedes. Subscribe to the channel. At first, this looked like the perfect Mercedes story. A new era. A competitive car. A proven driver ready to lead. A fearless rookie ready to learn. George Russell entered the season with everything that should have made him the natural reference point. He had experience inside the team. He understood the pressure of Mercedes. He knew how brutal a championship fight can become when every detail is measured, questioned, and compared. Kimi Antonelli was supposed to be the exciting unknown. Fast, yes. Talented, absolutely. But still young. Still learning. Still expected to make mistakes that Russell could avoid. That was the comfortable version of the story. The version that made sense before the first lights went out. And for one race, it looked true. Australia gave Mercedes exactly the picture many people expected. Russell won. Antonelli finished second. The team looked strong, the car looked competitive, and the order inside the garage still seemed clear. Russell was the leader. Antonelli was the future. But Formula One does not wait for a story to stay comfortable. It destroys comfortable stories with lap time. And after Australia, the numbers started changing fast. By the end of the early run of races, Antonelli was no longer just the rookie collecting experience. He was winning. Not once. Not by accident. Not because everyone else fell away. He was winning repeatedly. China shifted the tone. Japan made people pay attention. Miami made the pattern harder to ignore. Canada made the championship picture sharper. Monaco made the gap impossible to hide. And by the time the season reached Spain, the original script had been torn apart. Antonelli was leading the Drivers' Championship with 156 points. Russell was sitting on 106. That is a 50-point gap between two drivers in the same car. The same garage. The same team meetings. The same Mercedes expectations. That is the part that makes this so uncomfortable. Because when two drivers are in different cars, excuses are easy. One team has a better package. One strategy is cleaner. One car suits a circuit. One upgrade works better than expected. But when the gap opens inside the same team, the questions become sharper. What is Antonelli doing that Russell is not? Why is the rookie adapting faster? And why does the 2026 Mercedes seem to come alive more naturally in his hands? That is where this story becomes much bigger than a points table. Because the first instinct is to say Antonelli is simply faster. But that is too lazy. Russell has not suddenly forgotten how to drive. He has not suddenly lost the precision that made him one of the strongest qualifiers on the grid. He has not suddenly become ordinary. The more interesting truth is that the car has changed the kind of driver it rewards. And Antonelli may have arrived at the exact right moment. The 2026 Mercedes is not just asking for clean speed. It is asking for adaptation. It is asking a driver to manage energy, rotation, corner entry, corner exit, and changing aerodynamic balance all at once. That sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. This car is not only about how hard you can push. It is about how well you can push without wasting the energy you will need later. Imagine two runners starting a race with the same amount of breath. One runs smoothly but uses too much effort in the wrong places. The other looks more aggressive, but somehow saves energy for the moments that matter. By the final stretch, the second runner has more left to give. That is the difference the data is starting to show. Russell still has speed. But Antonelli seems to be finding speed in the places where the new Mercedes gives the biggest reward. And that is a dangerous sign for Russell. Because if this were only about confidence, it could swing back quickly. If it were only about one perfect weekend, it could fade. If it were only about strategy or luck, the next race could reset the picture. But the data is pointing to something deeper. Antonelli is not just beating Russell in results. He is beginning to beat him in the way the car wants to be driven. That is why the early season has become so shocking. Not because a rookie had one brilliant day. Because the rookie may already be setting the new standard inside Mercedes. And once that happens, the whole team starts to feel different. The questions change. The engineering focus changes. The pressure changes. The driver who was supposed to learn becomes the driver everyone studies. and the driver who was supposed to lead suddenly has to prove the car has not moved away from him. Then the qualifying numbers started to reveal the part Mercedes could not ignore. Because championship points can sometimes lie. A driver can lose points because of strategy. A slow pit stop. A safety car. Bad timing. Traffic. Damage. A reliability problem. Even one unlucky weekend can make the standings look more dramatic than the real performance. But qualifying is colder. One car. One driver. One lap. Same team. Same machinery. Same pressure. And this is where the Antonelli versus Russell story becomes much more uncomfortable. Across the season so far, the average qualifying gap between them is tiny. Antonelli's advantage is around 0.054 seconds. On paper, that sounds almost nothing. Less than a blink. Less than the time it takes to react to a light changing. But that average hides the real story. Because the gap is not staying still. It is moving. Early in the season, Russell still had answers. In China, he had the edge in the sprint qualifying session. In Canada, he found a brilliant pole by just 0.068 seconds. Those moments matter because they prove Russell still has elite one-lap speed. He is not being exposed as slow. He is not lost in the car every weekend. But the trend is what should worry Mercedes. At Suzuka, Antonelli was almost 3/10 quicker in qualifying. At Monaco, the gap became even more brutal. Almost 4/10. That is not a small difference around Monaco. That is enormous. Because Monaco is not a circuit where a driver can hide. There are no long straights to recover from a weak corner. There are no easy sections where the car can rescue you. Every wall is close. Every braking point demands trust. Every tiny mistake destroys the lap. So when a rookie puts almost 4/10 on Russell there, it sends a message louder than any interview. It says the car is speaking his language. And Russell knew it. After Monaco, he admitted he was a bit bamboozled. He described the feeling as beyond frustration. Those words matter, because they do not sound like a driver blaming one corner or one setup choice. They sound like a driver who knows the time is in the car, but cannot understand why it is arriving more naturally for the other side of the garage. That is the real pressure. If Russell were being beaten because the car was broken, he could wait. If he were being beaten because strategy had gone wrong, he could stay calm. If he were being beaten because Antonelli had one perfect lap, he could move on. But the qualifying gaps at places like Suzuka and Monaco suggest something deeper. Antonelli is finding confidence earlier. He is rotating the car more naturally. He is committing to corners where Russell is still searching for the exact limit. And in the 2026 Mercedes, that matters more than ever. Because this car does not reward old habits in a simple way. The new generation of car asks the driver to manage electrical power, changing aerodynamic balance, and lower downforce all at the same time. The car is more alive. More sensitive. Less willing to forgive a driver who drives it like the previous era. Russell's style has always been built around precision. Clean entries. Controlled commitment. A smooth rhythm through complex sequences. That is a powerful style, and in some parts of the lap it still works beautifully. Canada proved that. The sector data there showed Russell gaining time in a technical, slower part of the lap. He was strong through the chicane sequence, where clean placement and measured control matter. But Antonelli took time in the zones where energy and acceleration mattered more. That is the clue. Russell can still beat Antonelli when the corner sequence rewards precision. Antonelli is beating Russell when the car demands a more instinctive relationship with energy, rotation, and exit speed. And that difference may define the entire season. Because the 2026 Mercedes is not just asking who can be neat. It is asking who can be efficient while being aggressive. That is a difficult combination. Be too smooth, and you may not rotate the car early enough. Be too aggressive, and you waste energy, overheat the tires, or lose traction. The perfect driver has to live between those two extremes. And right now, the data suggests Antonelli is finding that balance faster. Think of it like driving on a wet road with a limited battery in the car. You want to accelerate hard, but if you do it at the wrong moment, the wheels spin and the battery drains without turning into speed. The smartest driver is not the one who pushes everywhere. It is the one who knows exactly where the push becomes useful. That seems to be where Antonelli is hurting Russell. He is not only going faster. He is using the car's performance in a more efficient way. And when that shows up in qualifying, it becomes dangerous. But when it shows up in race pace too, it becomes a pattern. That is where the next layer of data becomes impossible to ignore. Across hundreds of valid flying laps early in the season, Antonelli produced the quickest time on roughly 44% of them. Russell was far behind, at around 14.8%. That is a massive difference. It means Antonelli is not only stealing headlines on Saturdays. He is repeating the pace on Sundays. And Sunday pace is what decides championships. A rookie can surprise people with one qualifying lap. He can throw the car at the circuit, find something special, and make everyone talk for a day. But race pace is different. Race pace requires control. You have to manage tires, manage energy, manage traffic, manage pressure, respond to strategy, keep the lap time alive again and again, without overreaching. That is where rookies are usually supposed to suffer. Antonelli is not suffering. He is building. And that is what makes the data so shocking. The normal rookie weakness is consistency. Antonelli's early strength is consistency. Not perfect consistency, because no rookie is perfect. But enough consistency to win 5 of the first 7 races. Enough consistency to lead the championship. Enough consistency to make Russell's experience look less like an advantage, and more like something he has to defend. That changes the emotional atmosphere inside Mercedes. Because a teammate battle is never only about numbers. It is about who the engineers listen to first. Who the team sees as the reference. Who makes the setup direction feel obvious? Who looks calm when the pressure rises? Who looks confused when the lap time does not arrive? And right now, Antonelli is forcing that question earlier than Mercedes expected. The team did not sign him to be ordinary. They knew he was special. But there is a difference between being special in the future and becoming the center of the present before the season has even settled. That is what is happening. And Russell has to respond quickly, because the longer this pattern continues, the more the car's development direction will naturally lean toward Antonelli. That is not politics. That is Formula One logic. Teams follow lap time. If one driver is extracting more from the package, the engineers study him. If his style makes the upgrades work, the team listens. If his feedback matches the stopwatch, the car begins to evolve around that direction. That is why this is so dangerous for Russell. He is not only fighting a teammate. He may be fighting the future shape of the Mercedes itself. And the data is already asking the question no driver wants to hear from across the garage. What if the rookie is not adapting to the team? What if the team is about to adapt to the rookie?